Hey everyone, and welcome back. Ready to unearth some seriously surprising tech facts with me today?
Always up for a good tech history deep dive.
Awesome. We've got a whole stack of fascinating stories about the technology we use every day and like the quirky, unexpected backstories behind them.
Yeah.
Those wait what moments.
I think people will be really surprised by how much, history is hidden in plain sight.
Right. It's all right there, like under our fingertips.
Yeah, totally.
So let's just jump right in with a mind blower.
Yeah.
Okay, so email
Okay.
actually predates the World Wide Web.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking 1971, folks. Like, can you imagine sending emails when the
Well,
web didn't even exist?
No, it's wild, right? Like, back then, email was already zipping around on early networks like ARPANET,
ARPANET.
which is like the precursor to the internet as we know it. So think of it like a proto-internet, connecting mainly researchers and government agencies.
Oh, wow.
And it's actually fascinating how email's early adoption in those circles really kind of foreshadowed its lasting power.
It makes you wonder, right? Like, was it just a more practical way to communicate back then
Yeah, could be.
on these limited networks? No flashy websites or instant messaging yet. Just pure digital correspondence.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you know that early practicality might be like a key reason why email has stuck around
It really has.
so stubbornly.
Yeah.
Even in today's world of instant everything,
Yeah.
it's like the reliable old friend who's always there
Yeah.
amidst like this ever-changing landscape of digital communication.
Totally. Totally. Okay, speaking of blasts from the past,
Okay.
let's talk about the term computer bug.
Okay.
We use it all the time.
All the time.
But did you know it originated from an actual bug?
Yeah, a literal bug. Back in 1947, a team working on the Harvard Mark II computer.
The Harvard Mark II?
Yeah.
Wow.
They found a moth
Yeah.
trapped in a relay, which was causing the machine to malfunction. And so they literally debugged the computer.
Oh my God.
And the term just stuck.
It's almost comical to imagine, right? Like these brilliant minds working on this massive room-sized machine.
Oh, yeah.
And a tiny moth comes the whole thing to a screeching halt.
I know. It really highlights that contrast between early computing and like our sleek, software-driven world today.
Absolutely.
Back then, those computers were like physical beasts with like tangible components.
Yeah.
Today, we rarely even think about the physical parts when we talk about like software glitches.
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
Now it's all lines of code and algorithms
Right.
causing the headaches.
Exactly. But that moth story is like a great reminder
It is.
that even in the most complex systems, sometimes the tiniest things can have a huge impact.
For sure. For sure.
Okay.
Okay, get ready for this one because this one really puts things into perspective. The computers that landed Apollo 11 on the moon had less processing power than a modern smartphone.
I know, it's mind-blowing, right?
Mind-blowing.
Like your smartphone can stream high-definition video, run complex games, even recognize your face. The Apollo guidance computer, which was groundbreaking for its time,
Yeah.
had a tiny fraction of that power.
It's like we're all walking around with supercomputers in our pockets.
Right.
We're casually doing things that once required teams of brilliant engineers and room-sized machines.
It really highlights like the exponential leaps technology has made in just a few decades.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, like, what will our current tech look like to people 50 years from now?
Well, that's a great question.
What will be the smartphone equivalent that makes them marvel at like our primitive tools?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's such a good question.
Hmm.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about something we use every day. The QWERTY keyboard.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out there's a reason why it feels so awkward to type on.
Yeah, the QWERTY layout was actually a clever hack.
A hack?
Yeah, designed to slow typists down. Back in the days of mechanical typewriters, typing too quickly could jam the type bars together.
So they intentionally made the layout less efficient.
They did.
That seems so counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
But it was a practical solution. Right.
In the context of the technology at the time. And here's where it gets interesting. QWERTY stuck around even after typewriters evolved. It became the standard.
Yeah.
And once people learned it, they were hooked.
Yeah, it's a classic example of how standards, once they take hold, can be incredibly difficult to change,
Yeah.
even if there are objectively better alternatives out there. Like, we all know about the Dvorak keyboard layout, which is supposedly so much more efficient.
Yeah,
But who actually uses it?
exactly.
Yeah.
QWERTY demonstrates like the power of familiarity and habit,
For sure.
even when faced with potential improvements.
Mhm.
Sometimes the way we've always done things has like a powerful inertia all its own.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
It does. It does.
Yeah, it really makes you think about like the hidden forces that are shaping the technology we use every day, doesn't it?
It does. It really, really does. Okay. Are you ready for another like tech trivia gem?
Hit me with it.
The first computer programmer was a woman. That's right. Her name was Ada Lovelace, and she was like way ahead of her time, working in the 19th century,
What?
long before electronic computers even existed.
The 19th century. That's insane. So what was she working on back then?
So Ada Lovelace was like a brilliant mathematician who collaborated with Charles Babbage,
Okay.
who was the inventor of the analytical engine. Now, the analytical engine was a groundbreaking concept, a mechanical general-purpose computer
Whoa.
designed to perform complex calculations.
It sounds like something out of a steampunk novel.
I know, right?
But hold on, if it was mechanical, how did she program it?
Okay, so that's the amazing part. Ada Lovelace is credited with writing the first algorithm intended to be processed by a machine. Like, she saw the potential of the analytical engine beyond just crunching numbers. She envisioned it as a tool capable of, like, creating music and art.
Wow, that's some serious foresight.
Yeah,
It's so inspiring to know that like a woman was at the forefront of computing even in those early days.
absolutely. Ada Lovelace truly laid the foundation for modern programming, and her legacy continues to inspire countless people in tech today.
That's awesome. All right, get ready for this one because it's a real head scratcher. The internet weighs about as much as a strawberry.
I know, right?
Yep.
It sounds crazy, but when you think about what the internet actually is,
Right.
it starts to make a little bit more sense.
So it's not like there's this giant server farm somewhere that we can weigh on a scale.
Not quite. The internet is this like vast, decentralized network of information flowing through fiber optic cables and wireless signals.
Right.
And the weight we're talking about is like the collective mass of all the electrons zipping around the network at any given time.
So we're talking about the weight of like pure information, essentially.
Pretty much.
That's wild.
It really highlights the intangible nature of the internet, right? Like this massive interconnected global network ultimately boils down to something as light as a tiny fruit. Yet it has this profound impact on our lives.
It really does. That's a great point. Okay, this next one's for all the YouTubers out there. The first ever YouTube video was uploaded in 2005.
Oh, yeah.
And let's just say it wasn't exactly groundbreaking.
The iconic Me at the Zoo video.
Yeah.
A simple 18-second clip of one of YouTube's co-founders just standing in front of an elephant enclosure at the San Diego Zoo.
Talk about humble beginnings, right?
I know.
Who would have guessed that this, like, grainy little video would spark a global phenomenon that would change the way we consume and share video content forever?
Right. It just goes to show you never know where innovation is going to come from.
Right.
Sometimes the simplest ideas can have the most profound impact.
Totally.
No fancy editing, no special effects, just a guy and some elephants, and boom, a revolution in online video.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Speaking of unexpected beginnings, did you know that the company behind Pac-Man,
Pac-Man.
the legendary video game, started out making pinball machines?
That's right. Namco, the Japanese company that created Pac-Man, was originally called Nakamura Manufacturing. And they specialized in amusement machines, including pinball.
So how did they go from pinball to one of the most iconic video games of all time? That seems like quite a leap.
Well, the story goes that a young game designer named Toru Iwatani
Okay.
got his inspiration for Pac-Man from a rather unusual source.
Yeah.
Pizza with a slice missing.
Wait, Pac-Man was inspired by pizza?
That's the legend.
No way.
Iwatani wanted to create a game that was more appealing to a wider audience, particularly women,
Okay.
and something less focused on like the violence that dominated arcades at the time.
Right.
He thought a game centered around eating would be more universally appealing.
That makes sense.
And thus, the yellow, pizza-inspired, ghost-gobbling Pac-Man was born.
It's remarkable how such a simple observation like a pizza missing a slice can spark a creative idea that becomes like a global sensation.
It speaks to the power of finding inspiration in unexpected places. Sometimes it's just about looking at the ordinary with fresh eyes.
I love that.
Okay.
Okay, last one for this round, and it's a bit of cybersecurity history lesson. So the first computer virus wasn't actually created with malicious intent.
Okay.
It was more of an experiment.
That's right. Back in 1983, a 15-year-old high school student,
15.
named Fred Cohen, created a program called the Creeper virus.
So what did this creeper virus do? Was it wreaking havoc on computers back then?
Not quite. It was actually pretty harmless.
Okay.
The Creeper virus would simply display a message on infected computers that said, "I'm the Creeper. Catch me if you can."
That sounds more mischievous than malicious.
Exactly. Cohen's intention was to demonstrate the vulnerabilities of computer networks. It was basically a proof of concept.
So it was meant as a wake-up call, not a weapon.
Precisely. However, the creeper virus is considered the first example of a self-replicating program that could spread between computers.
Wow.
So in a way, it laid the groundwork for the more destructive viruses that would follow.
It's a fascinating glimpse into the early days of cybersecurity. Makes you realize that even groundbreaking innovations can have unintended consequences. We've come a long way since the days of I'm the Creeper.
It's amazing how much we just take for granted with technology, right?
Cool.
We just expect it to work.
Mm.
But there's like so much history behind the scenes.
There really is. That's what makes these deep dives so fascinating.
Yeah,
Peeling back the layers and discovering the unexpected origins of things we use every single day.
absolutely. And we've got a few more surprises up our sleeve.
Okay, hit me.
Did you know that the first webcam was invented to solve a very, very relatable problem, monitoring a coffee pot?
It's true. Back in 1991, researchers at the University of Cambridge,
Okay,
they got tired of making the trek to the coffee room, only to find an empty pot.
I feel their pain.
Right. We've all been there.
Oh, yeah.
So they came up with this brilliant solution.
Okay.
They set up a camera in the coffee room and connected it to the local network, allowing them to check the coffee level from their computers.
Talk about a first world problem.
Right. Solved in style, but hey, it paved the way for webcams as we know them.
Absolutely. That simple coffee-fueled innovation sparked a revolution. And now webcams are everywhere. Video conferencing, online streaming, security systems, you name it.
It's incredible how a simple need can lead to such widespread change.
Okay.
Okay, music lovers, this one's for you. The MP3 file format, the ubiquitous standard for digital music, was almost named something completely different. .opt.
That's right. So the developers initially considered using .opt as the file extension,
Okay.
which stood for October, the month they finalized the format.
So why the switch to .mp3? Was October just not catchy enough?
Well, it turns out opt was already being used by another software program,
Oh.
and to avoid confusion, they went with .mp3, which is short for MPEG-1 Audio Layer 3.
So a scheduling conflict saved us from having to say, hey, can you send me that .opt file?
Right.
It just doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
It does not. Sometimes, the smallest details can have a big impact on how technology is perceived and adopted.
Totally, totally. Okay, here's one that's a little bit spooky. Those kappa-TCHA tests we all encounter online, the ones that make you identify distorted text or images, are actually being used to train artificial intelligence.
That's right. So when you solve a CAP-TCHA,
Yeah.
you're not just proving you're not a robot, you're actually helping to improve AI algorithms.
Right, really? How does that work?
So the data collected from CAP-TCHA tests is used to train AI systems in image recognition and pattern detection.
Oh, yeah.
So every time you decipher those distorted letters or identify those blurry crosswalks, you're contributing to the development of self-driving cars, facial recognition software, and other AI-powered technologies.
Yeah, I had no idea. So the next time I'm struggling to solve a kappa-TCHA, I can just console myself with the thought that I'm playing a small role in shaping the future of AI.
You got it.
That's amazing. Well, folks, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into this surprising world of technology. I feel like we unearthed some hidden histories, some quirky origins, and some mind-blowing facts that I bet you'll be sharing with your friends.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring how innovation often springs from unexpected places, driven by human curiosity and the desire to solve problems.
Totally.
Even something as simple as an empty coffee pot.
Exactly, exactly. And, as technology continues to advance at this incredible pace, who knows what surprising facts await us in the future, right?
Yeah.
What seems ordinary today might become tomorrow's trivia.
That's true.
That's so true. Well, hey, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll get you next time with more fascinating stories from the world of tech.
See you then.